Lesson 3. Our learning intention today is to extend your knowledge from Lesson 2, where we dealt with 50%, 20%, 10%, and so forth, and learn some mental strategies to help calculate percentages without a calculator, including finding things like 15%, 30%, 70%, 17.5%, and so on. Just remember the percents for 10%, we found that was 10 out of 100, and when we seen it all shaded in, it was 1/10. So if I was doing it mentally, then remember that if you want to find 10%, you have to think about a tenth. So it means dividing by 10, and you move in one position. Remember, if it was £30, 10 into 30 goes 3, you get £3.20. You won't write 3.2, you'll write £3.20. Okay, and 10% of 456, there is no zero, so remember, start at the end of the number to the right of it and move in one position, and we get 45.6 kilograms. Remember to use units wherever possible. So let's try some of these mentally. What do you think 10% of that is? Move in a place, 2750. What would happen if you found a 10? Divide by 10, you get 634. You can put 0.00 if you want, or just 634. What happens when you divide by 10? You get 35 pence or 0.35 pounds. When you divide by 10, you get £9.90. When you divide by 10, we get £5.40. What happens when you divide by 10? You get 2 pence. Okay. What about 15% then? Well, if we know that 10% is a 10, how on earth do we get 15% easily? It's not that easy, but it's not that difficult either, because if you know 10%, look, 5% is half of 10%. So to find this, what we're going to do is find 10% mentally and then think about what half of this is, which is 5%. So how would you go about doing this? 10% would be dividing by 10, you get £4.50. So that's okay. 5% would be half of that, which is £2.25, and then collect together and we get £6.75. Now I'm saying it's mentally, but if you need to jot down the 10% and 5% figures, then you can. What is 15% of 250? What's 10% is 25, isn't it? And then what's half of that is 12.5, 12.5. So you might create a decimal there. That's okay. Always try to do these type of percent problems in your head before resorting to pencil and paper. But of course you're allowed pencil and paper if you want. Right, so I'm going to jot down the 10 and the 5. 10% is £30, so half of that's 15. So what would you get together? 45. 10% is 634. Half is 317. Click together. So you might want to do a sum there. Okay. Divide by 10 is 36 pence, and then half of that is 18 pence, and collect together. Divide by 10, £9.90. What's half of that? Just short of a tenner, so it's just short of a fiver. Half of £9 is £4.50, and then 45 pence. So again, you might want to jot it down. £5.40, half of that's £2.50 plus 20 pence, it's £2.70, collect together. 10% is 2 pence, and half of that is 1 pence, so it's 3 pence. Okay. 20% you've dealt with already, but I'll just show you a different way, because you were dividing by 5. This time, instead of doing that, remember 20% means you've got 2 bars, so if you know how to do 10% mentally, you just double it. So what we're going to do this time is find 10% and then double your answer. So what's 10%? £6.40, and double your answer, and we get £12.80. 10% is 356, double your answer, and if you have to do a sum, do a sum. I've not said these out like a chimney sum, but you can do, okay? Always try to do them mentally, so if you find 10%, another thing is to say 640 plus 640, okay? So let's go, 10% is 27.50, what's 2 of those? So what's 2 27s, or 2 50 pences, whatever way you want to do it. and I get £55. Two 27s are 40, 54 plus another pound. What's 10%? 634, so what's double that? 1,268. 10% is 35, double it is 70p. Pounds are pounds, but not a pence and a pounds all in the same answer. Okay, so you wouldn't write pounds 70. Okay, 10% is 990, double it, you get 1980. 10% is 540, double it, you get 1080. And 10% is 2 pence, double it, and you get 4 pence. Okay. 25% you've dealt with. You can half it and half it again, but we're just going to find a quarter. So it's just to remind you of the skill you did the last time. So divide by 4, you can always set up a sum. 4 into 64 goes 16, 4 into 8 is 20, there you go. You could half it and half it again, so 3240 and then 1620. You could half it and get 242, and then half 242 and get 121. Okay, or just divide by 4. Okay, so 4 into 36 is 9, so you get 90. 4 into this, you get 1, so you might want to do a sum there, or if you half it, you get 3, 4, 20, and half of 34 is 17, and you get 1710. It's okay to do a sum. Half that is 230, and half 230 is 115. Half that is 52, half it again is 25, and 1 is 26. So you don't need to half it and half it again, you can just divide by 4. 4 into 5 goes once, carry 1 over, 4 into that goes 3 times, remainder 2. This isn't a whole number, it's pence. So if you find it easier, half of £50 is 25, half of £4 is 2, 25 and 2 is 27, and then half that again. What's a quarter of 20? 5 pence. Okay, let's raise the game. 30%. Find 10. And what do you think we do? Just like the 20%, this time we find 10%, and we'll find 3 of them. So to find 30%, what we're going to do is find 10%, so £6.40, and then times by 3. I would do the £6.40 part in my head, but then do times by 3 is perhaps a chimney sum. 18 and £1.20 is £19.20. 10% is 35, 3 of them is 105. 10% is 36, 3 of them. 10% 620, 3 of them. 10% is 46 pence, 3 of them. 10% is 1040, 3 of them. 10% is 540, find 3 of them. 10% is 2 pence, find 3 of them. Okay. 40% is the same idea, find me 10%, find 4 of them. Don't do that with 50%, just find me a half. 60%, find 10%, and then find 6 of them. 70%, 10%, find 7. 75%, don't do that. If you know 25% is a quarter, then first find that 3 quarters. Remember, divide by the bottom times by the top. 80%, find 10%, find 8, and 90, find 10, then find times by 9. How do you deal with this? Do you know how to find 10%? Do you know how to find 5%? What else could we find? So there's 10%, there's 5%, and then we've got 2.5. So how are we going to do this? So VAT is called value added tax. Now it's actually 20% now, and for some bills and things, it's less than that, quite often 8%. The percent can change, but it's tax that's added on to things. It used to be 17.5%, so it's quite popular to have to calculate these things. So what we're going to do mentally is find 10%, then find 5%, and then find 2.5%. So let's go to this. What's 10%? We have £46. What's 5%? It's half of that is 23. So how do you find 2.5? half it again, and you get 1150. So to find 17.5, we add the 10, the 5 is 15, and we get 17.5. So we add all your numbers together. I would definitely set it out so that I could add them together. Okay, this hasn't got any big numbers, so £12, what's 10%? Move in a place, it's £1.20. What's half of that? 60 pence. What's half of that? 30 pence. So 17.5% is adding all of these together, and we get our answer. It's not as bad as you thought. What you're going to do is try these questions, okay, out there in a different PDF, and then you can check your answers. So that is the end of your lesson. What you're going to do now is just practice those. So you can go back to this PDF to check whenever you need.